Top of the morning to you, everybody but the East Coast family here for the Banking Bros and the Cash Compound Coaching Hour. We have a live session every Thursday that we are available. Sometimes we're out there traveling and we're in your neck of the woods. But this Thursday, July 3rd, we're here with at least one of our coaches. Maybe we will get two on. He's snooping around our office somewhere in one of the other offices or studios. But each and every time we go live, we teach you code cracking cash flow. And we have conversations around your questions and concerns with those things as we lay the foundation for financial freedom. So I'll be your host, one of the two banking bros. My name is Jay Do, and I've been practicing what I've been preaching for the last 9.5 years. I'll introduce you to our other coaches in just a few moments. But we want to let you know that this is an open forum. This is an Ask Us Almost Anything. A. Okay, ask me anything. We've heard of that for several different topics out there. If you are the type of person who likes to learn on the internet, you've been on an Ask Me Anything once or twice, some form of forum. We want to let you know there's nothing to buy on this live experience from us, but we do encourage you, if you like what we're talking about and you want to have a cash flow conversation with one of our coaches in a one-on-one type format, or maybe your family, what we're going to do is offer that to you absolutely free. You can click our links that we drop wherever platform or whatever platform you find the bio information on, or maybe throw something in the chat and we'll tell you where to go. SaveAndSpendSystem.com is a great place to start and have that first conversation with us. So I'm going to introduce you to Sean King from Legacy Life. He's with us from Pensacola, Florida. And what he's going to do is introduce himself and tell us a little bit about his journey here and make sure you understand where you can know, seek, and find a great conversation with Sean. Sean, good morning.
What's up, guys? Happy day before 4th of July. I don't know if that's a special day or not, but happy to be here. Happy to be chatting about infinite banking. I first saw this concept a couple of years ago. I had been in the life insurance space for a little bit of time. Realized that there was a tool out there, life insurance, that I could put money into that was guaranteed to grow, guaranteed to provide my family with something when I was gone, but also guaranteed me access to it right now. So I started looking more into that, and I realized, wow, this thing, infinite banking, is really awesome. I ended up utilizing it for the very first time to help me pay off student loan debt. I know a lot of you out there might have some of that. But after doing that, after actually seeing it work, I got hooked. I realized this is an incredible concept. This is a great system. Whole life insurance is a fantastic product. And so I've been doing it ever since. Family's got a ton of policies. We utilize them all the time. Now we mostly utilize them for investing and traveling and other sorts of fun stuff like that. So really excited to help, really excited to answer any questions you guys might have today.
Love it. Thank you, Sean, for being here each and every Thursday. Being consistent about this conversation is only helping our people realize that the money conversation is something that we need to be consistent about at home.
Yep.
Okay. So what that means, ladies and gentlemen, is we cannot postpone our progress back at home. You got to put policies, people, and procedures in place. We were just on a family call with our internal team, and we were talking about those 3 Ps. And I liked it because that alliteration didn't come from me. It came from one of our agents in training who is building a business right now in the PNC space and looking to come over to what the foundational insurance tool is over here. Life insurance for what we talk about. But before we get into all that, let's talk to Jonah. Jonah, welcome to the show here. I know you've been doing some troubleshooting and some technical pieces. Appreciate you hooking us up today.
Yeah, I'm here and I'm back. Sorry, everybody. I was trying to make sure that we are live on all the platforms and all the people can hear and see us on all the spaces. So I think I've got it all set up, which means we are currently live on YouTube. We are currently live in our Facebook group and on our page. And we're currently live on Instagram. Over on Instagram, I see April, Michelle, Tony Shavers. I'm the Pino has joined over there. I think I said it appropriately. So we appreciate you watching. I know we've got a few people watching over on YouTube. So here's what I'm asking for everybody who's watching. Why don't you go ahead and put a comment, type get your Twitter fingers going and let us know where you're watching from. Where are you currently and who are you? So we can interact with you a little bit. And if you've got any questions about money, finance, infinite banking, we'd love for you to put them in the chat. Ask that too. So ideally, you're going to say, my name's Jonah. I live in Greer, South Carolina. And my question about infinite banking is, are you guys actually doing it? Is it real? Something like that. And we'll be able to jump in from there and be able to interact with you, talk about where you're from, where you're calling in, and of course, all of your questions. So in the chat, get your fingers going and let us know where you are listening from, where are you watching from. We'd love to chat with you.
Okay, being that it is the Independence Day weekend, Sean says, I don't know if if there's a title for Independence Eve, right? Today is July the 3rd as we go live, and Independence Eve is actually the day that the memes say that Thomas Jefferson was like, crap, that's due tomorrow.
Oh,
yeah. All right. So there's that, right? Procrastinators, unite tomorrow. All right. So here's what is interesting about Independence Day. Was it John Adams? Was John Adams the guy who died on the same day as Thomas Jefferson? They were political rivals, the second president and the third president. Wasn't it them?
I don't know that answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
I believe it is. How many of you jump in the chat and let us know? Was it John Adams, Thomas Jefferson? President 2, President 3, political rivals. And one of them said, John Adams. He said, Jefferson lives. They hated each other so bad. That was his his death. His deathbed words. Jefferson lives.
But then, surprise, no, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Yep.
Jefferson and John Adams died the exact same day.
Oh, that's crazy.
July 4th, 50 years after they signed the Declaration.
How bad do you have to hate someone to be? I mean, that's arch nemesis.
Yeah, that's bad.
Category right there.
Right.
Arch nemesis.
That is
crazy.
Hulk and Loki.
Yep.
That is Penn and Teller, Kareem and Magic. No, they all liked each other.
Yep.
Who hates each other the most? But anyway, so here's what's interesting. I just heard this last week, for those of you who are out there, that John Adams never would call it Independence Day.
Why?
He's the second president. Died on the 4th of July. Would not call it Independence Day because they voted on it July 2nd.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, we didn't do it July 4th. It was July 2nd.
I wonder why they made it July 4th.
I think it's like 2nd. That was the day like they all finished signing it or something.
Yeah. Well, that seems appropriate also.
Yeah, like it's not, hey, well, we all have to sign it. And everybody,
Right.
some guy's in the bathroom right now. So like we have to, John Hancock and all that stuff. We got to sign it so it doesn't count until July 4th.
Sean, I got one for you, man. This is from Jake. He says that he's working in Greer once again. Jake and I are neighbors. And he got some good info from you recently. Had to share it with some friends on Facebook.
Whoa, hold on, Jake. You shared it with friends on Facebook? How'd that go? I can't share stuff with my friends on Facebook. We'll be in political wars every day.
Yeah, so I had actually made a video that was just kind of, gosh, what was it called? Let me see. How does my infinite banking policy compare to my qualified plan?
Okay.
So, just doing comparison stuff. And I made that video a couple weeks back. I make a lot of videos, so I'm not sure exactly what I said in that one, but it was obviously good enough to stir up Jake's emotions and make him feel like it was necessary to share with his friends. So hopefully it had some sort of positive impact on them as well. Hopefully I provided some information that brought some enlightenment to his friends. But yeah, be sure to head over to my YouTube channel, you guys, Legacy Life and Retirement. We all put out a ton of content. The whole idea here is just to get you as much education as possible so you can make the best decisions for yourself. But I appreciate the share, Jake. I did see that. I commented on it, and hopefully it helped in some sort of way.
I love that. Very good.
Appreciate you, Jake. And I know, Jake, congratulations. If you don't mind me saying it, Jake, normally we hashtag protect the wealthy, but Jake and his plus one, they're working on a new policy.
Very
and
good.
I think things have been progressing well. So, Jake, hopefully that is a positive thing to announce. We're always working on new policies, so it's common stuff around here. But these are private contracts, and nobody else needs to know about them. So, and all that. Okay, so now we're getting into the 4th of July. Sean, we're going to a quiz for you here. Give us a little quiz transition here. I've got a question for everybody out there, and Sean is going to have to do his best to answer. hear me when the transition's going. Okay, Sean. Okay, shout out to Nelson Hollins, one of our regulars here who joins us live on YouTube today. What's up, Nelson in Texas?
Peace.
The best. He was the highest paid Texas employee of 1975. Ladies and gentlemen, he's back. And Jake says a few updates from what we were just talking about. He says, a lot of my friends are headstrong, if that's a word, on qualified plans. Most people only know qualified plans.
That's a word that counts.
It's better than doing nothing. That's for sure. It's better than opting out of your qualified plan, taking in all the money, and then spending it this weekend on a new Will Smith thriller, because Will Smith comes out with movies on the 4th of July.
Oh,
Does he have one this year?
Independence Day and all that was all 4th of July. That makes
Everything.
sense.
iRobot, Independence Day. He does 4th of July movies.
I don't know if he's got one this year.
iRobot,
You've got
did I
to be
say that?
careful with these movies now because they put them out on the streaming services. So it's like new F1 the movie, but only on Disney Plus. And I'm like, I'm not
Right.
subscribing to Disney Plus to
Watch one movie.
Yeah, get out of here.
You got me for $40 a month for 3 years.
Right.
Okay, so here it is, Sean. Sean, the Americans, the colonies, the colonists, the patriots, were trying to get away from the crown. Which crown was it? Which crown was it, Sean?
That was the crown of Great Britain.
Great Britain, right? Very good. Okay, who was the monarch?
You're talking about who the actual individual was?
Yeah, who's the monarch at the time?
Oh, was it King George?
King George, my man. King George, the which one though? Which one?
Oh my God, I don't know. There was
Come on, Sean.
12
Give it a
of
guess. Give it a guess.
King George
you-
the third.
My man.
Woo!
3 for 3.
Good.
Okay, very good. You got it. Look at this. All right, so here it is. They were upset. They had done the Boston Tea Party, right? Over taxes.
Yep.
Taxes. They had to get out of that game. They didn't. There was part of it. The Pilgrims, remember the first people over on the boat, they wanted religious freedom, right? We're still going to be colonists. We good, but we're trying to get away from the Church of England. We want to purify the church. We think they're doing all sorts of crazy things, and we ain't about that. Plus, we heard there's some land over here on the west side of the world. We're going to go ship over there. We're going to start a new little thing. But the colonists were upset about the tax. Now, the Boston Tea Party was tax on tea, right? We're doing tariffs. We talked about that recently, Jonah.
Yep.
Okay, tariffs, import, export.
Specifically tax on tea, which is
Yeah.
crazy. They've taken a lot of tea.
There's just so much tea.
And it was a pass for me. I'm going to be okay
Right.
if they tax the
Pinkies up,
tea.
Sean.
Right.
Yep.
Here's the question. What was the tax? What percentage? What was the tax bracket tariff on that tea?
Oh gosh, it was low.
Okay, yes, it was low. While you're thinking about it, fans, all friends for friends and family, go ahead and throw something in the chat here. Federal income tax now. What is the highest income tax bracket now? Sean, do you know?
I do know this one because I'm trying to avoid it at all costs.
Would you riot and throw the stuff in the harbor? Over
If
the
it
tax
got-
bracket?
If it got up to what it's been in the past, like in the 60s and 70s, I'd probably join. a
Like
riot.
you would join a riot?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't see you joining a riot.
I think I
Sean,
would.
what do you say?
Would I join a riot?
Yeah, there's so many questions I've asked.
What's the highest
yeah.
tax bracket currently? That's the question on the table. What the highest tax bracket currently is?
40%?
Income tax. Pretty close. But you went over. It's got to be closest without going over. Anybody going to throw anything in the chat? IG, YouTube, or Facebook? Okay, Brad, throw it up there, Jonah.
Brad says 33.
33%?
Brad, I gotta give you the same thing, man.
But you did not go over.
But you
Okay,
didn't go over.
You didn't
so
go
you
over.
are winning.
So
Currently,
we're
Brad.
between 33
doing
and 40%, but 40 is too high. Okay, Felicia says
35.
35.
That's
Okay,
not it
Felicia
either.
says 35.
But she's currently winning
She's right there.
because she's
She's right
now closest without going over.
Okay.
So good work.
It is 37%. Okay, in 2025. Now they just passed the big bogus beautiful bill. So half of the stuff we know is changing.
Yep.
Half the stuff we know.
930 pages.
Yeah, we don't have all the detail on that. Friends and family, we're watching YouTube and CNN and people's TikToks trying to explain it just like you are right now. But historically, last year, 2025, 37% on income above 609,350 for single people, 731,000 for 200 people. We're getting this off ChatGPT right now, which is probably right. It's pretty standard information. Okay. Sean, you are correct. Give him a ding for correct. On the top, gift tax rate, 40%.
Mm.
We were saying income, though. Gift tax rate, 40%. And there's one more. I think I asked it. It's the luxury tax.
Oh,
Okay, luxury tax. And I always thought that luxury tax was on things that you won on game shows. And we grew up on them game shows. I did.
Game shows is income tax.
It's just income.
Yeah.
I always thought for some reason that it was luxury when you went on The Price is Right and you won a new car.
No, I think it's income tax.
Yeah, I think it
it's
is
straight up
actually now that
income
you're
tax.
saying it.
Well, if you win a new car, I think it's income tax and it's like property tax.
Depending on what you get. Yeah.
You-
So
well, not
luxury and
depending on
excise
what
tax,
you
it
get. Would
varies.
you like
Got
a
it.
license plate, then it's property tax
Yeah.
also. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Okay, so Sean, we're going back to the original question. Ladies and gentlemen, fans and friends, throw it in the chat. You've got 10 seconds. Sean, what have I always learned? I haven't looked it up. Maybe we should look it up for.
Okay, so just to reiterate the
T
answers
tax.
here, 40% is too high income tax bracket. Brad said 33. That is too low. Felicia said 35. She's again closer, but not right on it. So it's something between 35.
Oh,
and
I guess I didn't
40.
even say. I'm
Something
sorry.
Between 30.
no, you did 37.
I
right?
said. I
Oh, you
said it. I'm sorry. 37.
Oh, okay.
37. So here it is. I'm going to look it up, Sean. But
My
what?
question was the tax on tea.
Yeah, what was the T tax? Right now, Americans out there are headstrong on their qualified plan, according to Jake in Greer, South Carolina. People are living their life in the land of the free. Generally speaking, might be okay with 37% income, 40% on luxury, but they were rioting in the streets. And by streets, I mean the harbor. Didn't have any streets. They just threw it back in the harbor.
That's it.
What was the tax on the tea?
What was a lot back then? Let's say I like 3%.
Okay,
I don't know how to put it in percent.
correct. They just gave us, we just looked it up and they said pence.
Yeah, they said it was
Okay.
pence.
They said Mike Pence,
I don't-
3 Mike Pence per pound.
That's what it said.
So
3
I've always
pences
heard
per
that
pound.
was
Mike Pence?
2%.
Mike- A pence,
Pence.
is a 2%. What?
I heard,
I don't know
okay,
what a
we just
pence
looked up
is.
and said 3 pence per pound. At the time of 1775, the American dollar wasn't a thing. So they were using pounds. 3 pence per pound. I've always heard that was about 2%. 2%. They threw a riot. They
Oof.
flipped the tables over, kicked those dudes off the ship. They gave them wedgie straight up and said, "Give me your box and crate," and dumped it in the harbor over 2%.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I believe it.
2%.
And look at us now, 37%.
And that's a
Highest
low. That's
bracket.
since the income tax became standard. The income tax became standard and didn't go away anymore. 1913. It has been. Jonah, you struggling with your mic over
I
there?
don't know what happened. People keep coming in here recording podcasts and messing up my mic, messing up the color. That's why we're so. It's like a
Yeah,
weird.
for those of you who can
weird
see us out there, you're
green
looking. Be
haze.
safe wherever you are.
Sorry, everybody.
Be safe wherever you are. If you're running on the treadmill, look down real quick though. But if you're driving, do not. And we are green. And it's not easy being green, especially when they come in for your taxes. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 cents started a crazy thing in the harbor, 1775, I think. And then 1776, these guys were done. We out. Okay, so isn't that interesting? So if you know your tax, what questions do you have about taxes when it comes to the infinite banking concept? Reminder, what we do here, what we promote, and what we will help you understand is how to keep your dollars from Uncle Sam, and they will always be growing and cash flowing. You'll be able to use more and more passive residual income tax-free money if you store your dollars in the right place in the first place. It is very common to misunderstand this ubiquitous product. It's life insurance set up the right way from the right type of company. But it's life insurance. We all can tell you 1 or 2 sentences about life insurance. We don't have to be specific. You're not wrong. You give them a premium at the life insurance company. They give you a policy coverage. They have to pay it out. Whole life insurance, to get a little more specific, put some respect on it. Capital W, whole life insurance is what we're talking about. Must pay. The cost stays guaranteed and the premiums stay level. and there's more and more equity all the time. If you utilize that tool, you do not have any new tax problems. Read my lips. No new taxes. So if you are a patriot, if you are ready to fight the crown, which has now become the big, beautiful bill, it has now become the income tax system of the 20th century that is now 112 years old. You want to understand how you can utilize whole life insurance, a private contract, non-qualified. The government has nothing to do with it, and it grows and cash flows income tax free.
That's exactly correct. When I talk about taxes sometimes and people who know a little bit about it, well, I mean, it's really kind of twofold. One, I did not know almost anything about taxes when I started making any money, when I started working. I mean, I know zero. Maybe they taught you a little, one or two things in school. If they did, I was absent that day. I just was not paying attention. I literally did not know. And so there's a couple of key things that I like to kind of go back and point people to when they're learning about or want to know about taxes. And so here's what I just did. I pulled up the historical income tax rates. So Sean, I got another question for you. We just talked about the highest tax bracket this year being 37%. What if we went back 30 years ago? So instead of 2025, we went back to 1995. 1995.
Do you know how old you are?
Yeah.
You turned 33 last week.
So the
you looked at me when you went back.
I wanted to make sure I got the math right. So Sean, here's my question for you. 1995, what was the highest tax bracket?
Income
tax bracket.
Maybe.
So
who's president in 1995? King George IV?
No, I also don't know who.
Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton. 1995.
That would have been my one guess. Bill Clinton.
Yep.
He's doing well on his guesses, honestly.
He killed it 3 for 3.
37% this year.
40%. Right?
40%. You're right on it. 39.6 30 years ago.
When are they doing decimals? Come on. I mean, like
that's what it is. That's what it over 256,000 it looks like if you were married filing jointly. If you're single, then back in 1995, the highest tax bracket for you is also 39.6%. So it's the same, married filing jointly or single. So I like to go back and look, like, how have taxes been historically? Are they up? Are they down? So right now, past 30 years ago, we're actually down. But if you keep going back, and this is where it can get kind of crazy, you keep going back, like let's say 1984. What year were you born, Jeremiah?
84.
1984, highest tax bracket your year.
I'm going to go higher.
37% this year, 39% in 95.
Okay, we got Reagan.
But 10 years prior than that,
we got
84. Highest tax bracket is?
And also interest rates, super high when I was born compared to now. I'm going to go with 43.
Okay, and you, to be in the highest tax bracket in 84, you make more than 162. That's it. In the highest bracket single, you make more than 81.
Oh.
Highest tax bracket, 50%.
50%.
1984.
Yeah, I knew it would be going up.
Half your money.
Right? So here's what I learned from going back and looking at some of these things. And I'm just calling out a few years. If you go back and you actually look at some of the highest tax brackets that we've had, it's normally around wartime, World War II specifically, and then is it Vietnam, I believe?
Yeah, probably during Vietnam. After Korea.
The highest tax brackets are through the roof. They're literally in the 1978 highest tax bracket, 70%. 70%. You make more than 203 as a married couple, 70% tax. You make more than 102 as an individual, 70%.
Now, you guys know, and let's be clear, everybody out there kind of knows how the brackets work, tax brackets.
Hopefully they do.
So you're not taxed 70% on all of your money. You're taxed at a tax bracket. I don't know how to kind of visualize it or say it.
You literally have to do, so this is something that I learned actually as an adult also, because I was so lost and confused.
Sure.
So just in case you don't know out there, here's how you do it. There's individual brackets. So I believe the first bracket starts at 18% or something currently. And then it's like 20%, 24, 26. It goes all the way to 37. Okay. So here's how this works. Your first $15,000 of income, no tax.
Right.
If you make more than that, in between $15,000 and $30,000, meaning that $15,000,
$15,001 to
now gets taxed at 18%, the
Right.
first bracket.
That's what they mean.
Then, if you made $60,000 that year, so now you got $30,000 in one, all the way to $60,000 will be taxed at the next bracket. So it'll be taxed at, if that one was 18, the next one's 22 or whatever. That's how
Right.
it works. So by the time you get to the top, it's not actually 37% on your entire income. It's 18% on this portion. It's 22% on this portion. It's 25% on this portion. It's 30% on this portion. That's how they do it, which is why it makes such a big deal to get into the lower tax bracket if you've got any sort of deductions or
Yeah.
expenses, things like that. But here's what I learned in
Yeah.
going back and looking, because I did go back and look at one point. It's kind of my personality. I just want to scroll. I want to figure out what's going on. And I started to realize they change the brackets like crazy. I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes they don't even make it 5 years on the same bracket. Then they change it. And for me, that was what was eye-opening. Not really, oh my
Oh,
goodness,
really?
it's been so high before. Well, that was
Well,
eye-opening.
here's
like, oh my
another
gosh,
one,
it's
Jonah.
high. But it was just the fact of how often they change it.
Here's another thing about these big, beautiful bills that Congress puts out. We have a challenge in our political system with guys like us who are looking at voting in this person, voting out that person. And I want to ask Sean a question here in a second, too. But it's because these things get put in bills with these future, like it's only going to last 3 years thing.
Yep.
Then it's going to change to this. Then it's going to change this, but it's already in the bill.
Yep.
So it's not like you can blame your current congressman for something that's expiring, starting, changing. Because, man, they voted on that one 3 years ago. So we'd have to amend the bill by having a new bill to change it. That's why it was actually a huge part of Trump's political campaign process, because he put in tax cuts, personal business tax cuts that were expiring this year. So if it would have been a opposition controlled Congress and they wanted to let them expire, and the new Congress that got put in place, which is majority on the president's side, we need to vote in to keep them. You see, you guys understand kind of that? But hold on. Somewhere in there, I'm not trying to get too political if you like it or don't like it. We're just trying to get out of the system completely. But Sean, somewhere in there, we were talking about these tax brackets and kind of how it worked and all that stuff. What is your history with understanding how income tax works? What did Jonah say in there? Somewhere in there, you were nodding. You were like, whoa, I just saw some facial expressions about how the brackets are up and down, how the rates have changed. It seemed like you had some thoughts on that. What did you know growing up?
I got
what
one
did
more
you
piece
understand?
of information for you,
Okay.
Sean, before you answer. 1963, 23 different brackets. Highest bracket, 91%.
That was our mom was born.
23 different brackets. Under 4,000, taxed at 22%. Under 8, 26%. Under 12, 30%. Under 16,000, 34%. Under 20,000, 38%. 23 different brackets. Isn't that crazy? Anyway, now answer. What you got on your mind?
I also didn't know really anything about taxes growing up. It's not something that we really talked about. It's not something that I was super interested in. As I started to get older and I actually got into the space of becoming a 1099 contractor, essentially working for myself, I started to learn that there's substantially more advantages of owning a business or working for yourself and being able to get access to certain deductions. People who have W-2, people who are W-2 employees have substantially limited amounts of tax breaks they get, and which doesn't really seem fair, because that seems like I'm not saying that they're harder working than everybody else, but that seems like the majority of the population, which makes sense. They wouldn't get all the tax breaks. But I've read some different books. I've got one behind me, Tax-Free Wealth by Tom
Wheelwright. Yeah.
Yep. Who is Robert Kiyosaki's tax attorney. I remember when I read that, a good amount went over my head, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of information here. But just had a great chat yesterday with a gentleman who owns a company that we're looking to potentially partner with that does taxes for businesses and step up on higher wealth individuals as well. I have a current CPA that does my taxes, so it's not a ton that I know. I've kind of started to educate myself more and more in the space, but I'm also very aware that I need to be partnering with professionals who actually know how to do this stuff and can make sure that I'm doing all the right things in my business to keep as much of my money legally as possible. So
I love it.
probably where I'm at.
So, how many of you out there, if you guys are still listening, if you're still with us, taxes aren't an exciting topic for most people. And a lot of people kind of feel like if I do have a decent grasp on taxes, I have a decent grasp on maybe my personal situation. Like, I don't know what everyone else has to realize. I only know that I'm a W-2. I only know that I'm a 1099. I only know what my accountant has told me. We, of course, as coaches around here, around people's financial conversation, need to be a little bit more broadly educated on what's going on. So what questions, comments, concerns have you had, or crazy realizations by the time you became an adult, got a job, saw that withholding? What types of things have gone on your mind? The reason that this is important to your financial conversation is because the erosion of your wealth is massive when you give the money away. We talk about here, it's all about how much you can keep. Their save and spend system, what our flagship introduction is for the infinite banking concept, is all about how much of the money that you make can you hold on to, and where do you put it so it can be the most efficiently used. And if you put it in life insurance and understanding the way that it can be designed for your advantageous use in terms of cash flow and tax of what's the right word? Because you have to be well, I was about not avoidance, but tax sheltering. You can say that, right?
Yeah, you can say that.
Sheltering it from being taxed, which is what you do in your qualified plan, I guess. So that's the right word. You're sheltering it from being taxed now, right? Qualified plans are generally deferred until later. It changes the game for you. That's what we're trying to help you understand. So the reason we bring up taxes is not because we're tax professionals. We can't give you tax advice. What we can do is say, you do realize that this program, this process, or this product is non-taxable if you use it this way. You can just put your money there and you can leverage it or use it, or it grows, or it's maybe deferred, depends on what your goals are and what you need. And so that's why we love to inquire about the trivia and the historical pieces of taxes, because we're trying to figure out what have the wealthy done to keep their money.
That's it.
So that's what it's all about. Okay, Jonah, let's get into a conversation, a chit chat here about some stuff that I have talked about, some of our client conversations in the last week. A tax hour here, but I had a specific conversation this week with a couple of people that I want to point out some highlights. Check out the hits, ladies and gentlemen. The highlight would be we have a new intern in our office, and that intern is a Gen Z individual, and she happened to grow up in the same house we did. It is our youngest sister. She has come by, and Jonah and Sean, here's what I realized. I realized that a lot of our conversation and communication is tailored toward people who are not Gen Z, not Gen Z at all. And Gen Z has money. They're emerging into the workforce. We've got an internship with a rising college senior, but many of them are cash poor, right? Big time cash poor. But when they start to see our content because their parents are introducing it to them, they look on TikTok, they look like us, they're in our family, they go, man, this seems good, but I don't know if I really get it. I don't know how to get started. How much does it cost? And man, it's not super memeable or trendy.
Yep.
To kind of have you guys explain it the way you do. What are your thoughts on some of that, Gen Z? What are the challenges that you've seen? What are the conversations we need to have with the folks who are 16 and up?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think for the majority of big life decisions, financial decisions for someone that is Gen Z, a lot of people don't realize that they need to start as early as they started, right? So for our generation, we're all millennials on this call. We see the memes, we get on Facebook or Instagram or whatever platform you're using, and you see all of the I wish I knew back when, right? You've seen like the funny one. The one that I like the most is probably instead of going out to recess in 5th grade, I should have been buying houses in the housing market.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
I slept on my opportunity.
Right.
Right. And the whole point and purpose of that meme is literally to say, man, you've got to start a little earlier. Like you've got to do that. And the problem is that when you're like 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, you're not thinking that. That's just not what's on your mind. Even if you're a little older, 18, 19, 20, you still probably aren't thinking that. You're in school. You're worried about having a girlfriend or a boyfriend. You know what I mean? Like that's what you're doing. You're playing sports. You're doing your instruments. You're whatever it is, that's what you're thinking. And so that's actually the issue. The issue is the mentality around the person that's somewhere between 15 and 25 currently that does not realize you have to start this stuff now. It actually is worth your time and energy to sit there and listen to somebody or figure it out or read or study up to figure out what in the world is going on and what you want to commit to now, because if you do not, you're going to be behind the 8 ball, right? As you look forward to the future. So we talked about this a little bit, even by saying some of the people in the Gen Z era get to look at their parents, who are more than likely not millennials. They're more than likely, is that Gen X?
Gen X.
And they get to look at what they were doing and say, oh, it worked or it did not work. And therefore I can copy or I don't want to copy. Like I see what happened to them and they tried this. There's no chance I'm doing it. I'm going to go a different direction.
Yeah.
And so that can be super detrimental. If you have a parent and they did something that worked, they're going to tell you to copy early. You've got to copy. You've got to copy. I'll set it up for you. You're going to make it. If you've got a parent that it didn't work, whatever they tried didn't work, all they're telling you from an early age is you got to figure it out. Didn't work.
That's true. That's a big point, Jonathan. Let me jump in right there. And then I want to ask Sean a question about this is we had parents who mostly did things. These are good people, right? They're good people, but mostly when it came to financial stuff, it was like, you got to figure it out because basically they didn't know.
Yep.
They're like, what we tried didn't work, or what we're still doing is trying to figure it out. But if your parents do know, they'll let you know.
Yep.
That's interesting, right? Because Bron is out here letting Bron Jr. know it works, you should do it. Bryce, it works, you should do it. And that's why successful families, ultra successful, these are famous people like that we know, like, hey, Will Smith and Jada is like, hey, get into entertainment. That's what we know. It's what we do. We're letting you know it works.
Yep.
But if you did something wrong, Will Smith and Jada have come under fire because they've done some weird things recently, and they've made them all public, right? And so whether or not you're entertained by it or not, it's fine. But the point is, they do some things that are weird, and it's public. And so you're like, did you tell your kids to do that too? Or do you just avoid the things that you don't do? I remember Rush Limbaugh. Let's go from liberal to conservative. Rush Limbaugh, conservative talk show host, died 7-8 years ago. I don't know. He talked about everything except drug abuse because he was on prescription drugs, because he had an issue. He got hooked on the drugs. And so he didn't talk about that topic because he had a problem. He was going deaf or something. Like he was literally going deaf. He got hooked on these pills because they were helping him after a surgery or whatever. So he had a prescription drug problem. So he didn't talk about it. And I think there are a lot of areas in life. We talk about 6 areas of life sometime: fun, finances, family, faith, fitness. Like if you're not good at it, you just avoid that with your kids.
Yep.
I'm fat and ugly and I'm lazy, so I just don't talk about it. But hey, I know all about politics, so I tell my kids about that all day.
Yep.
Sean, what do you think about that? What do you think about some of these things? We're talking about Gen Z, talking about getting started, talking about learning from their parents. Jump in with any thoughts that you have.
And what's up, Ashar? We see you out there.
What up? Yeah, I think those were all really fantastic points. And I didn't really think about it that way too much, but that's so true. I feel like your parents tend to have the biggest impact on you throughout that portion of your life. And you see why so many successful people end up having successful kids in some manner or another. And that's just because they're telling, like you guys were saying, they're telling their kids, hey, these things work. Hey, get into acting. And sure, you may have a foot in the door, things. They may already have some money to help people out. But at the end of the day, normal, regular people like us that are not coming from money in the first place need to be very aware of the information that we are feeding or we're not feeding to our children. And I think with having a 17-month-old son, the focus for us is really like, hey, what things can we start to educate him about money in a fun and enjoyable way, so this becomes something that he wants to learn more about. And kids always are following by example. They do what you do, not what you say. So if we're doing these things and implementing in them in our life, and we're involving him and getting him knowledgeable and getting him educated up, bringing him to events with us and stuff, like, he's probably going to by default start learning some of these things as well and be better equipped at that early age than most people might be.
Mhm.
And that might be something that he's like, hey man, I got this job that I'm working, and because I kind of know a few things about money, I might do some different things with my money than Susie over here is, who's 15 years old and spending it on, I don't know what 15-year-old girls spend their money on,
Who
but
knows?
makeup, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think just having that conversation early on and building that style of education in your household around do what I do, not what I say. Like, the
Yep.
parent has to be the ones doing the things, because my parents flipped a house or flipped a apartment one time when I was younger, and it went really well for them, but nothing ever else came of it. We didn't learn how to start doing that ourselves. So I never got into real estate. And so it was just kind of that lack of like, hey, this would have been a great entry point for me to take off. And like I said, in 5th grade, start getting some doors under my belt. And,
Right.
Yeah.
Rather than the only thing I was got on my belt was like Slim Jims I was buying from the snack shop for 25 cents in
Right.
5th grade.
I think you mentioned something really powerful, Sean. You said successful people normally are going to lead their children to do the same thing or be successful. And you said this phrase, you said, yeah, you might have your foot in the door already. And I think that's key, because a truly successful parent who cares about their children always is going to make sure their kids already have their foot in the door. Always. Period. Right. I mean, you talked about Will Smith and Jada, right? I'm pretty positive my man Jaden, his son, was in Karate Kid when he
Yeah.
was 9. You always make sure you have your foot in
Yeah.
the door. We talk about infinite banking, and I've said on podcasts before or lives, my 7-year-old literally has more money inside of his whole life insurance policies than I had in total at 17. Right?
Right.
I always am going to make sure my kids get in the door. Where it gets too far, of course, is where people get frustrated with that, is all the nepotism stuff, right? Where your kid's not qualified, they didn't care, they don't want to pay attention, and you gave them the keys to the kingdom, the keys to the car, the Ferrari anyway.
Right.
And now it's just like, no, this person doesn't deserve to be here.
Yeah.
But a successful parent or a leader always is going to make sure that their people, their children,
Yeah.
their support have their foot in the door. That's what you do.
Very successful people have had this conversation in front of us. Success leaves clues. So let me say something about one of our mentors in the infinite banking space and political families again. We're doing a little politics here, or at least historical politics on this broadcast. But one of the guys that influenced Sean, our coach here, and Jonah and I was a Minnesotan chiropractor. Okay, we'll protect his name for you out there just in case. But he's called me in the last 6 months actually for some potential investment deals. So this Minnesotan chiropractor, when we first saw this infinite banking concept and heard about it, he's the guy who we asked about getting that little black book. Let me show it to you guys again. This one right here, Becoming Your Own Banker, BYOB. He's the one who told me what the title was. He sent it to me in an email and he said, hey, go grab this book. So this doctor, this chiropractor, he had a video from the founding agency that he told me to talk to. Had a video on their website somewhere. I went to their website. I saw him talking at a retreat in Mexico or something like that about, man, this guy's maybe the smartest guy that I know. And the chiropractor is making millions of dollars. Okay. Very passively, very relaxed lifestyle. But he said, I think the only thing that I have to teach my children. So he's got children now that are probably, his oldest is 10 or whatever. So same age as Jonas. You know, I only have to teach them the Bible and I only have to teach them banking. That's it. Not chiropractic. This guy had also made millions of dollars in network marketing. That's why we knew who he was. No, I don't have to teach him that. I need to teach them the Bible and banking. Those are the only two things that I think my kids need to know ever to keep wealth. going and to live a successful life. Very interesting. Now, here's another thing. During one of those town hall debates, let me switch to the political side for you. During the town hall debate 2016 election, leading up into that one, you remember that was Trump round 1 and Hillary Clinton.
Yep.
She was the Democratic nominee. And they were going at each other. Y'all remember, it wasn't that long ago. Trump still probably says stuff about her for all I know. And someone gets up in one of those roundtable town hall things. I don't watch them. I watch the aftermath afterward, right? And a lady stands up, I believe, and said, all this crazy stuff you guys throw at each other. Can you say something nice about the other person? And this is what's interesting. I just thought of it. It's perfect for this episode for 2 levels. Number 1, Hillary went first, I believe. And she said, well, actually, I can. And the thing I can say nice about Donald Trump is how great he's raised his kids. All of his kids are great people. As crazy as I think he is, obviously, we know all that stuff. That's the stuff we remember. He's got great kids. Donald Jr., Ivanka, Eric, Marla's daughter, whatever her name is. Barron's little kid at the time or whatever. But he has great kids. They're good people. They do good work in the world and stuff like that. And what I thought about that idea, Trump said something different about her. And he just said, well, she's a fighter. She's not a loser. She doesn't give up. Okay, but she said something about his children. This is a mom, talking about children. But I also thought about Chelsea Clinton. What does Chelsea Clinton do? Now, sometimes it's under fire, plus Epstein's list. I don't know. But she runs a massive foundation. She runs the foundation. The kids, like them or love them, hate them or leave them, do what the parents do. They have caught on to doing philanthropic work. They have caught on to making tons of money in business. They have caught on to the tweets. Donald Trump Jr. is just as wild as his dad. It's probably worse. I used to follow him during a long time. I was like, this is crazy. I got to get off of it. But they've taught their kids, pay attention to these things. This is how you make money. This is the business stuff we do. This is philanthropic work. Clinton Foundation, as crazy as that might be, is people be showing up dead all the time. I don't know. But I thought about that because we're talking about teaching your kids the steps in financial literacy, awareness, education, foundational tools. Do these things. Pay attention to this. And of course, I'll bring you on for the internship. Of course, I'll bring you to the meeting. Of course, I'll put you on set for a little Pursuit of Happiness or Karate Kid. I mean, that's what you should do. You love these people and they're close to you, so you teach them what you know. Now, Trump doesn't, I don't think Trump is into fitness. He's not into fitness, but he's taught his kids a few things about serving the community at large, right? Trying to do good things, whether or not you believe him politically, but trying to do good things for the community. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, he don't believe in fitness.
Neither does Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, best investor of all time, maybe, right? During our era, 99 years old at this point.
McDonald's for breakfast.
Yeah,
That's
drinks
what the movie
Coke.
said.
In his mouth.
Yeah, Hostess, whatever, likes the cupcakes or whatever, likes McDonald's. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, I could teach you money, but I mean, I like to eat things that I invest in.
I think you're right. I think we would be in much different positions if our family would have, like we were talking about taxes earlier. If I knew anything about taxes going into, before my 30s, I probably would be in a better financial situation than I am now, which is
Ain't that the truth?
a financial situation. But if I just knew the information earlier, everything is time. That's the best thing about what we do with infinite banking and these whole life policies is it looks really, decent at the beginning, but with more time, it gets so much better. You having a policy now versus your kid having a policy, just like you said, Jonah, your son has more cash than you had now than you had at, 17 years old. So if we can just get the information to them, they don't, of course, consume and absorb everything. But man, having a 17-month-old, it's crazy how much I'm realizing he actually absorbs, even though I don't really know what he knows. So getting them this information as early as possible I think it has the ability to be completely life-changing, whether we give them the foot in the door or not. Giving them the upper hand on having that education before most other people do, or maybe ever will serve them for their entire life.
I love it. I think that's exactly correct, which is why we get on Thursdays at this hour and talk about the infinite banking concept. We started off by talking a little bit about taxes and the new bill that is being passed. Crazy enough, it was passed. It was tied 14 times. Not tied 14 times. They couldn't get it approved 14 times. The 14th time
that's
it
probably
tied,
normal.
and then the vice president voted yay to pass it. I was
Yeah.
like, how many times are you allowed to vote on this and it not pass?
Oh, well, there's some sort of special
understand it.
way this bill was built, and you could or you couldn't. You could go attack lines at a time.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
what's interesting about that? I don't know. Somebody out there, correct me if you know more than we have, because I'm going to be wrong about this. But there's a thing in the way the rules are set, the parliamentarian rules. It's like, hey, some bills you can't attack anything. It's all or nothing. And
Yep.
some it's like, no, we can attack certain sections.
I got you.
Try to take it out and put it back in or modify something. But it depends on how it's brought to how the House passed it, right? Because in our country, the House passes it and then the Senate passes it and then the president has to sign it,
There
right?
you go.
You guys got to remember all that stuff and how it works in this country.
We
So,
really do appreciate everybody joining us. For the folks that were over on YouTube, Jake, thanks for tuning in, giving us some comments, and Ashar, Felicia, Brad over on Facebook, Nelson. Again, Nelson is normally here at this time. We really do appreciate you, Nelson. I absolutely got your text message just a few days ago.
okay.
So we'll reach
Great.
out to you. The folks over there on Instagram, we appreciate you too. I saw Tony Shavers over there, and Hello Happy 1995, and Aaron Dupe, and I am Pino, and April Michelle. We appreciate you guys as well. We will be back same time next week. That is 12 p.m. Eastern, right at the noon hour, to talk all about the infinite banking concept. We'll dive into maybe some questions we've put on the internet and people have answered. Maybe we'll give some time to some comments that people have put on some YouTube videos. Oh, speaking of comments, somebody told me I look like I'm 16 years old in a YouTube video. Bro, you're 16 years old. What do you know about finance?
Well, he is over 30, even
Love
though he
it.
can't think back to when
Love
that
it.
was.
I appreciate you. Thank you, but I'm a little older than that. But we do appreciate everybody for tuning in. Brad, thank you so much. We appreciate you. And we'll see you guys next week. Same time, same topic, new people. See you then.
You are now tuned to the banking bro. Said we couldn't make it because we chose. Gave a lot of game, we never got a lot of things. Bow your head and say the prayer. We taught you how to be the bank.